there's beauty in it. Because when you get those clients, they stick around for a long time because they feel like they know you. They implicitly trust you. You seem to them more as a friend as opposed to that transactional relationship, right? Which is how traditional business is done. You run ads, you get a customer, and because they don't know you or they don't feel connected to the brand, but they want the solution, maybe they churn slightly faster. So there's a whole psychological aspect of it here as well. But my genuine advice to people who are wanting to do LinkedIn is to win on the platform, just go a little bit harder than other people and do it for longer than anybody can be bothered to do it. That is how you win. And that ultimately is also how you win in business. Just do a little bit better than everybody else and do it for longer than anybody can be bothered to do it. It's not about being the best. It's just about being the person who commits for the longest, because over time you start to perfect and you start to finesse your messaging and you start to realize there's certain styles of content that work really well. 3 months in, mate, I can tell you now, you might have a lucky few people on your cohort and on your course who have gone from 0 to 6 figures in 90 days. But I can fucking assure you that most people are not going to do that. It's a long, long, long road, you know.
Before we dive into today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us grow and inspire more people on their journeys. Thank you. Hello, Jack. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you being here.
So, Jack, for those who don't know you, can you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Jack. I run a community called the Content Club, where I help founders to be able to create videos that actually get results for the business and help them to grow and scale and essentially live the dreams, really. So, yeah.
And Jack, because what you do, and I've got a little bit of background in kind of video as well, I'm really curious, what's your journey like? If you're like someone who actually studied video or maybe film or this type of content creation, or did you learn it by yourself, or what's your journey like?
Yeah, great question. All self-taught. So I spent pretty much my early days in school, in uni, and in those sorts of things, kind of toying around with Premiere Pro and toying around with making YouTube videos. I got quite good at YouTube. I sort of built some pretty big channels, which is great. All deleted now, which is such a shame. I really regret deleting them. I wish I could look back on what I looked like and what I sounded like, but hey ho.
Do you remember maybe what was the number of subscribers, if it was any bit
So
number?
I had a gaming channel before gaming was really a thing on YouTube. It was just a way for me to kind of like switch off, chill out. That reached about, I think it was 15,000 subscribers we had, but that was in the space of a year. So 0 to 1 year, we got to 15,000, which I thought at the time was pretty good. But due to being bullied a lot at school for it, I shut the whole thing down. I thought, I'm never going to pursue gaming again. This is awful. And you know what? I really wish I just continued with it, because I reckon I'd be up there with some of the big ones now, you know? This was at the time when PewDiePie was playing Amnesia gaming videos, and you know it wasn't really even a thing. So who knows where that path would have taken me. But
Yeah, just as you mentioned it, was it like people making fun of you because you record content online?
yeah, pretty much. So it was more because I guess I was young and maybe like squeaky voice, typical, like hadn't gone through puberty yet properly. But I think it was because it was so different to the norm. You know, nowadays you walk down the street, especially here in the UK, and you'll see people with vlogging cameras talking to cameras and, you know, just on their own. And it's so accepted now. You don't even kind of, you don't bat an eyelid at it. You don't double take. Whereas I think when I was at school, everyone talks about it. You came in, I remember going into school, and some of the like the horrible kids in the school had basically printed a picture off of myself from my gaming video and stuck it all around the school like 100 times, and it made me feel awful. So yeah, like peak of the bullying, but it's fine because I think it makes you a stronger person, right? Because nobody in school at the time was creating videos. There weren't any vloggers, there weren't any like influencers. It wasn't really a thing. So to see one of your friends or someone from your year create videos on YouTube about games, it was really strange. So for me, it was just kind of like, you know, it was the tunnel vision. It was like, oh, I'm in this bubble. People don't like my videos. I'm getting like cyberbullied on the internet. I'm going to shut it all down because I don't want the hate for it. Nowadays, I wish I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to push through because I think it's funny, but I didn't have the confidence that I have now with it all. So yeah, man, it's sad story.
Sorry to hear such experience. Yeah, but
It's all good, man.
I agree, because if I look at myself, I would be really scared as well and find it, I don't know, strange to put myself out there, and especially to hear from other people like their reactions. But I've seen so many statistics like these days that one of the most popular types of jobs that kids want to do when they grow out is like to be an influencer. So the time has changed so much. So I can imagine.
Crazy. I think it was something like in Gen Zs or Gen Alphas. I can't remember the stats. Take this with a pinch of salt, but I read this maybe a year ago that the second job that people wanted to be was a YouTuber above anything else,
Yes.
astronaut, whatever it was. It was they wanted to be a YouTuber, and that just kind of shows you how far the industry has come. Every young person sees YouTube or creating content as a great way to earn money, as a way to earn living, as a way to get yourself out there and build your brand, and have a bit of fun whilst doing it. So. But when I was younger, back in school, I don't even know how long, 2010 maybe, it wasn't a thing. So in 15 years, that's how far we've come, to the point that almost nowadays, if you don't do it, you're seen as a bit strange. It's kind of gone full 180. It's really odd. So yeah, wild ride, mate, wild ride.
Yeah, and it makes one curious. What is it going to be in the next few years? If it's going to be completely different or even grow even more.
Mm. I don't know. I mean, I think the only way that it can go is growth. I think that with the influence of AI and the barrier to entry for creating content getting lower and lower and lower, in terms of equipment's getting cheaper, tech is getting easier to use, it's becoming more affordable. I think you're going to see more creators, but I think with that you're going to see a landscape of content that is absolutely rife with just bad messaging and bad positioning and
Yeah.
bad creation, just because people feel pressured to do it. So I think we're entering a wave where people almost feel pressured to have to do it, as opposed to they feel intrinsically that they want to do it. So it comes from that core, I feel it's the right thing to do. So I think we'll see a new wave of it in the next sort of 5-10 years. People who feel like they're not, it's not their natural thing to do, trying to push themselves out that comfort zone, which is exciting, but it's also concerning for social as a thing at the same time.
That is true, and I agree. I'm just maybe a bit afraid that it might go more into the direction of quantity over quality. For example, with all the AI tools that make it much easier, sometimes it feels like that people just keep dropping content a lot just to reach as many people as possible and I guess monetize it. But I guess we will see over time.
Yeah, totally agree. I think so. I think that's where it will go. I think people will feel the pressure to post. They'll post the wrong stuff. They won't really give thought to what or why or how they're creating their content. And before you know it, the feed in terms of social media will just be saturated and overwhelming. And I think at that point, social media, which is already changing very quickly in terms of how we engage with it, will have to change. So I think we're in for a really exciting but scary next 10 years on the internet. I think it's going to change massively, and I don't think people are ready for that change.
I think so too. Then we discussed it before the recording, but you started your YouTube channel from scratch again. So what did it feel like? Were you excited, scared, or something different?
Good question. Like I love YouTube. I've spent the last 7 years creating majority on LinkedIn. I do a lot of email as well, but I've been predominantly focused on LinkedIn. So YouTube for me is a really nice, very nostalgic platform. It's very different to LinkedIn in the sense that it's creator led. So you are encouraged and incentivized to create and to become better at creating through monetization or affiliates or brand deals or, just further reach, better performance. YouTube has really got that locked in. And I think it's a great platform to be on. LinkedIn, I think, is a great platform, but it's not a YouTube. It's not creator led. There's no real incentive to post other than to get leads and to get customers for your business, which is easier said than done, right? So the way that the platform works is totally opposite. I think just after spending such a long time on LinkedIn, where I would argue that the creativity or the barrier is quite dull on that platform in terms of content, it's really nice to have a challenge with YouTube, to really put my creative skills to the test and kind of battle it out with the algorithm to a degree. Every piece of content I make, I am looking at the analytics just like a hawk. I'm laser focused on them. I'm looking at retention, click-through rates, engagement. Are people clicking? Is it coming up in the search, or is it becoming through YouTube recommendation? All this data, all this science behind the madness, that's really getting me going at the moment. I'm an absolute nerd over the data side of things, but I think you have to be on YouTube. Whereas on LinkedIn, I think you can kind of fall into this trap of becoming a bit passive with it. It's post 5 times a week, talk about your personal brand. It's a very different approach. So I'm
what
loving
you did before.
Yeah, I'm loving it, man. I'm absolutely loving it. It's a breath of fresh air, and ultimately, it helps me to grow more as a creator, which then helps me to help my clients. If I'm not practicing what I preach, if I'm not learning myself, I can't then teach that to my clients and my customers, my members. So it's a really good exercise to get into how to, and I'm really enjoying it.
I think it's actually the right approach because the technology is evolving, the competition is growing on social media. So you actually need to be tracking the numbers, the analytics to keep improving. And I was just about to mention, as you said, that you try to track it and improve it, that I saw you posted video yesterday. And when I saw it again, you changed the thumbnail, which reminded me what obviously YouTubers do to test different thumbnails to improve. So it was just what came to my mind when you said that.
Yeah, I think you've got to test. I think so. I do what's called A/B testing on YouTube. You now have the ability in platform to be able to automate the change of thumbnails, which is great. I think you can add up to 3 or maybe more in 24 hours when the numbers have kind of reached this point where it gives you the data. You can really see the difference between how many people have clicked on what. So it's a really good way. It's just, I mean, look, this is like basic marketing, right? It's just A/B split testing. It's such a basic thing, but you can now do it on YouTube, which is great. On other platforms, I don't think you can. LinkedIn, you definitely can't yet. So it's much more guesswork. But again, how consumers behave and the data that you get from your audience kind of translates to other platforms. So if you can learn it on YouTube, if you can really get to grips with what works, what consumers want to digest, what people are searching for, and you apply that to other platforms, the likelihood is that you're going to get better results on those platforms as well, even though they don't give you the data as much as YouTube. That's why I love it. It's kind of this powerhouse for information that is applicable to other social feeds. So I think it's a great place to realize how bad you are at creating content. And I like that challenge. I like to learn where are the gaps, what am I missing, what am I not thinking about, because that helps me to create better stuff, and that obviously helps me to then market my business. So yeah, man, it's great. I call it being in the trenches. It's great being in the trenches with YouTube again, because I've really missed it, and it's a good community, man. Good energy on that platform as well.
I was going to say that I like the mindset, and when I look into, the dashboard of YouTube when I'm posting the podcast, sometimes I feel a bit overwhelmed, like, with all the options and everything that there is. And also as someone who spends a lot of time on YouTube as well, I want to improve it and everything. So I think I should adopt more of such mindset as well. Not that I would neglect it, but sometimes it maybe just feels a lot, but it's a good point to dive into it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to. I don't think you can afford to not understand the data. I think if you treat YouTube as other platforms where you kind of post and ghost, for example, you aren't going to grow on it. You are going to stagnate. And there's an argument there of, well, give it time and keep posting, keep posting, keep posting. I think that's a very small piece of the puzzle, and it's a very small cog in the system of YouTube. You've really got to understand SEO, thumbnail design, copyright, descriptions, chapters, structure of content, pacing. There's so many things there you've got to really nail. And it's brutal because if you don't get them right, you're not going to win. Only the best of the best of the best are rewarded with views and new subscribers and clout and notoriety. Other platforms are very different. So I think it's a great platform. I think it's still my favorite platform ever. I'll put it out there. It's my favorite platform ever.
To be honest, I feel like I spent too much time there, or a lot of time. And of course, I like LinkedIn as well, but I don't want to make picks between these two. But anyway, my question was, because I watch it a lot as well. So what are some of your favorite channels on YouTube? Whether entertainment, inspiration?
So I use YouTube much more of a chill out platform for me. I treat it as business. So all my content is about business. I see a lot of kind of like big entrepreneurial creators like Ed Lawrence. He's a great creator. James Smith, founder of, I think it's Nootropics and Newtonic. There's some pretty big people here. I've always been a big fan of Casey Neistat, the OG vlogger on YouTube, Peter McKinnon, one of the OG filmmakers, videographers. So there's an educational side to it that I like, but I do feel YouTube for me is much more of that wind down. It's the replacement of Netflix. So I watch, because I'm a big PC gamer, I used to do that in a lot of my spare time. I like to just kind of watch other gaming YouTubers and just chill out, or vloggers. I've got back into watching vloggers as well, just to kind of see what goes on behind the screen. The guys over at Represent Clothing do a vlog, which I think is really cool, just inside the business, what's happening. What else do I watch? Yeah, it's just chilled out stuff, man, really. I think that's also why I like it, because it's not always business. I'm not creating on it and then I'm learning from it constantly. I think you need the downtime, and that's what helps me to ultimately become better at what I do, because if I can rest, my ideas tend to be better, and my content tends to be better as well. I've spent almost a decade of not resting in between work, and it's quietly killed me, so it's nice to have a bit more leisure time, relax in the evening, spend time with family. You know, that's Ryan Trahan, huge YouTuber, absolutely love his stuff.
It was the latest video about him, right?
Yeah, man, this is the thing. Like I'm kind of breaking down why he's done well. You know, 50 states in 50 days is a huge challenge. So the recent video that I've created is about breaking down how he's done it. You know, what's the tactics, what's the insights from a sales, from a marketing perspective. How has he managed to do? I think he did $11.5 million in 50 videos. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. But there's real wit and intelligence behind how he's done that. And I think you can replicate it to a degree. And that's kind of what my latest video is all about. It's how has he done this, and how can you replicate or introduce the tactics that he has used for your own business? You know, how can you create 50 videos and get $11.5 million in donations? It's possible, hard, but possible. And that's what I'm trying to break down. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think I might have missed the timeliness of it because it's about a month or two after he's done it. So we'll see. We'll see.
I was just about to add that you said that you use it, for example, instead of Netflix. So I'm actually someone who does the same because, yeah, there are some good stuff on Netflix. But as you said, I feel like that the YouTube, of course, you can be scrolling and kind of lose time there. But at the same time, there are so many good channels that you can maybe play just in the background, whether it's podcast, vlogs, or something that you don't have to really think about. And for me, it's also something that I play kind of in the background all the time. So I like what you said, and that is something that I can definitely relate with.
Yeah, definitely. I think YouTube, for me at least, is just the wind down platform. You know, it's not always so intense, and that's, I think, probably why I like it so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you struggling to stay consistent on LinkedIn? FenPost helps you create high quality posts in minutes, so you can write faster, show up more, and stress way less. Built by creators for creators. Is the easiest way to grow your presence without burning out. Try it free at FenPost.com. So this was about YouTube, and where does actually LinkedIn come into the place? What's your experience with the platform, or when and why did you start there?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a long story, so I'll try and condense it where I can. So I started on LinkedIn 2016, 2017. I actually used to work with my old man who used to run a recruitment company called Red Sprout. At the time, nobody, not a single person, at least from my network, so maybe outside of that, but I don't know, was posting video. It was to the point that you can actually natively post videos onto the platform. It wasn't even a feature. So we had to have a big workaround to try and figure out how to do it. It was a nightmare, but we figured it out. Crazy, right? It's just insane to think that. So we started to do, myself behind the scenes, I wasn't on camera, but I was filming my dad go about his day and do a weekly vlog called, I think it's called Sprouting About. That's what we called it. And it was just about what's happening in the recruitment space, who have we placed, candidates, all this sort of stuff. And very quickly, 6 months later, we realized that we couldn't work together, family dramas and all the rest of it. And I started my first agency, which was called B21. The way that we got clients was by creating videos that were just silly little funny internet videos, skits and sketches and comedy stuff, which did really well. So did that for, you know, probably up until 2024. Lots of stuff changed in that time, and then I started to introduce native video. So suddenly we saw more video creators on the platform. The agency was about, you know, helping people to really push content on LinkedIn. Then we kind of grew up a little bit in the sense of that we started working with some of the biggest brands in the world. We used to do like the trailers for some like Call of Duty campaigns. We did stuff like Microsoft, Xbox, Toshiba, Panasonic, all the Scouts in the UK, huge brand. Like we used to work with some of the big dogs, and how we got our clients was through LinkedIn, you know, just making fun, personable, very natural, very authentic pieces of content that weren't necessarily there to sell, but they just showed us as people, showed our personality, showed the work that we were creating as well. So there's that social proof credibility side of things as well. And I shut that business down start of 2024. I then launched the Content Club, which is then my video community for founders, where I essentially teach them all the knowledge that I had in creating videos for big brands to do themselves, you know, because I don't think you need an agency. I don't think you need to hire freelancers anymore. I think you can get away with filming content on your phone if you know how to film it properly, if you can get the messaging right. And still to this day, it's how I get all of my members, you know, or majority of them. Some people come through YouTube, a lot of people come through email, but I would say 70% come through LinkedIn, which is still pretty strong. And again, I haven't really changed the approach, man. It's just create stuff that people want to watch. That's kind of it, you know. I think it's such a good platform to stand out on. There's very few. And I'm going to be honest, I would probably say there's under 1,000 creators on LinkedIn that are good compared to the users, which I think are about 1 billion, but I might be wrong there. That's nothing. That is a needle in a haystack in terms of opportunity, which is why I love the platform. There's very few good people creating on it. And I think soon enough, LinkedIn are going to have to change that. They're going to have to incentivize creators to be on the platform. So I think it's a great place to be on for the creator boom that I do think is about to happen. Don't know when, but I can just feel it. I feel people in the comments saying, the content on this platform is not good. We need some more content. And it's kind of like, well, do it. Be the person to create the stuff. So there's this switch clicking in people right now, and I'm quite excited for it. So yeah, but all on LinkedIn, mate. So for almost 10 years, I've been creating on it. So
Wow, oh my God. You're like one of the OGs.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it.
But what you said, like with the statistics, because I've seen it as well, it's also when you compare the number of people that are on LinkedIn compared to other platforms, which is still quite low, for example, I don't know, Instagram or something else. Then if you look at the number of people that are on LinkedIn in relation to people who actually post regularly, it's still so low. And people often, you can hear them or like, I don't know, in a comments or posting that, it feels like they try late into the game because yes, now it's after you said that you've been showing up for 10 years, people might feel like it's late, but as we just discussed now, it's never late. There is still such a big potential. So I think people still think, it's late, but just start today and you'll see how it goes. And as people keep coming. So I think also there is a really untapped potential and it's only going to grow.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I think it is outside of YouTube for B2B businesses, especially smaller ones, which I think is a huge opportunity at the moment. I think LinkedIn is probably my number one platform right now. Yes, reach is down and algorithms changed. It just is what it is. Suck it up and get on with it. That's how social media works. I think, but I just had a quick look. So 1.2 million members are on the platform as from July 2025. So it's very, very recent. 1.2 billion people. I haven't got a list of creators. I don't keep tabs, but I'm just generally speaking here. I'd say about 1,000 people on that platform are creating genuinely good content. Stuff that belongs on YouTube, stuff that belongs on Instagram that could do really well. So I think it's really missing the creator landscape at the moment. And I do think LinkedIn have to change that, for years and years and years, because I've been on it for such a long time. Not compared to some people have been on it for 20 plus years, but for almost 10 years, that's a long time in the game. I've kind of seen the trends that have gone around on LinkedIn, and I've seen what people create. I've seen what people want, but more so now people are saying, I don't know if I like this platform anymore. It's just the same people all the time, the same sort of content, mass produced. If this influencer on LinkedIn creates this, suddenly you're going to have 500 other people who copy the same sort of template and use the same framework. So I think the influencers or the big dogs, and I say big dogs, but I mean, 200, 300K followers, which in the grand scheme of things is nothing. YouTubers on YouTube, that would make much more sense. The influencers on that platform, they're at 30, 50 million subscribers, so they are the big dogs on the platform. So the big dogs on LinkedIn are so small. They're so small, but they've got huge egos. And I think because of that, people get influenced by them very well. And I think that kind of whitewashes this similar kind of vanilla content, So it's an interesting platform, but I do think more people need to create on it, not just to get business for themselves, because that is a byproduct of creating on the platform, but just to start to kick LinkedIn up the backside a little bit and say, I'm going to be one of the people on this platform who gets attention, who stands out on the feed, because it's very easy to do that at the moment. You just got to put your creative hat on, think about what do people want to watch, and create the bloody videos. It's kind of as simple as that. Hard in execution, but in theory, it's pretty simple, do what people aren't doing and you'll...
Yeah, that's what I was about to say as well, that if people complain, you can be the one like who tries to stand out, come up with quality content, create. You can see that, yes, there are many people who are posting, but as you can see from the statistics, there is still big potential. So try to be unique, come up with something unexpected, which again,
absolutely,
actually brings me to a question that I want to ask you as well. It's like when people ask you, I don't know, how to stand out, how to grow and this and that, which usually comes down to be unique, to stand out, find something that is, different about yourself so that you come to people's minds, you stand out from the crowd and stuff like that. So come back to you. What will be your advice to such a question? I'm pretty sure that you get it in your DMs often as well. I do too. So I think it's always worth asking.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think outside of the traditional stuff, be yourself, think of new ideas, blah 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 blah. I think actually a lot of it's just doing a little bit more than everybody else for longer than anybody can be bothered to do it. That's kind of it. Just go a little bit harder than everybody else on the platform. Just put 5-10% more effort into your content and do that for longer than anybody. You'll do well. That's my kind of advice. Because the thing is, there's this huge message. And this kind of stems to business and marketing and social media in general. This whole mindset around if I put 3 months of hard work into this, I'm going to win. No, you're not. Not for 3 months, you're not. Maybe 3 years, maybe you're just scratching the surface on it. But I think a lot of the big brands or like video coaches, and especially like LinkedIn influencers, the ghost writers, the personal brand builders, they really lean into this message of, just be consistent, post 5 days a week, and, be unique and show your personality and be authentic. It's not enough. It is not enough to break through the noise, right? If everyone's doing that, then what do you think is going to happen? This is not easy stuff. I've done this for 10 years, and that's been a hard 10 years. I'm going to be honest, mate. It's been super hard. Organic content, regardless of whether it's just on LinkedIn, is one of the fucking hardest things that you can do. It is a absolute pain in the backside, but there's beauty in it. Because when you get those clients, they stick around for a long time because they feel like they know you. They implicitly trust you. You seem to them more as a friend as opposed to that transactional relationship, right? Which is how traditional business is done. You run ads, you get a customer because they don't know you or they don't feel connected to the brand, but they want the solution. Maybe they churn slightly faster. So there's a whole psychological aspect of it here as well. But my genuine advice to people who are wanting to do LinkedIn is to win on the platform, just go a little bit harder than other people and do it for longer than anybody can be bothered to do it. That is how you win. And that ultimately is also how you win in business. Just do a little bit better than everybody else and do it for longer than anybody can be able to do it. That's really it. It's not about being the best. It's just about being the person who commits for the longest, and you'll do well. That's kind of it, because over time you start to perfect and you start to finesse your messaging and you start to realize the certain styles of content that work really well. 3 months in, mate, I can tell you now, you might have a lucky few people on your cohort and on your course who have gone from 0 to 6 figures in 90 days. But I can fucking assure you that most people are not going to do that. It's a long, long, long road, So continue using that as your marketing angles, guys. But I don't buy it. So I've been there, I've done it. I'm in the trenches of it, and it's not how it works.
Yeah. And I think people also often underestimate that it may feel like that it doesn't yield any results, but you never know. If there is someone who's been like following you for months or even years and just waiting like for the moment to reach out, it doesn't need to happen immediately, but they've been following you for some time. They know you, they know like the quality of content that you produce, the experience you've got, and they just might be waiting for the perfect moment. I heard like stories like this, that someone reached out, never engaged before, but reached out, for example, after months or years to finally collaborate together. So you never know when it might happen.
Totally agree. And I think the saying goes, and I don't know where this comes from, but the saying goes that it takes between, I think it's like 7 to 13 different touch points to close a client, right? I think that's right. Anyway, take it with a pinch of salt. I don't think that's true anymore. I think with so much content, the way that social's changed, I don't think it works. My opinion is that I think people need to consume content from you for about 7 to 10 hours before they even decide that they want to work with you or they decide to even like you as a person. 7 to 10 hours of content. If you're posting a 60-second video once a week, that's going to take you years and years and years of graft to amalgamate to 7 hours of content, right? If you're putting out a 10, 20-minute video on YouTube every single week, that might take you a couple of months, because that time speeds up because the content and the quality of the content and the length of time that you spend with people is so much more frequent, the higher your chance of actually converting customers from it. So I can wholeheartedly and confidently say it works. In the last probably, I'd say 5 or 6 years, I've probably done about £2 million just from LinkedIn. I've done no ads. I've just created content on the platform. People have come to me. I don't do any cold outreach. I don't do any cold emails or cold calls. People watch my content. I just say, hey, I'm Jack. I'm the video guy and I can help you make better videos. And people are adults. They will decide whether they want to work with me themselves. I'm not reaching out to them, I'm not saying, hey, buy my stuff. Oh, I've just seen that you're on this list or in this group. Do you want to buy my products? I'm just creating stuff that people want to watch. And they go, this guy's kind of cool. I quite like what he says. I didn't even think about that before I watched Jack's video. He's made me problem aware. I'm now solution aware. I've checked out his site. I've seen his personal brand stuff. I've seen his client work. it all kind of adds up. I might reach out and just see, but maybe I'm not ready yet. My job is to keep myself front of mind. And your job, or if you're listening as a founder, is to do the same. Again, it goes back to doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, finessing it slightly, and just doing it for longer than anybody else can do it. Because eventually, when someone's in the right frame of mind, or maybe they've changed a job, or maybe they've reached, I don't know, their 40th birthday, or they've got early inheritance, I don't know what happens, or they've got budget, they'll go, you know what, I'm going to spend some of this money with this person because I implicitly trust that they're going to help me to do the thing. So if you're thinking that you're going to run an ad, or you're going to create a video and it's going to get you millions and millions of pounds worth of clients, it's not. It's not how it works anymore. It's not how it works anymore.
You can hear it here from the pro. And Jack, what do you feel like that like the video content has changed on LinkedIn over time? Because you remember like recently, or like, I don't know, a few months ago, LinkedIn introduced on the app the button for video, right? So they wanted to push it more, but then it somehow quickly disappeared again. So in your opinion and experience, is it the video growing? Is it again, I don't know, going down or the same?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously I'm not on the LinkedIn team, so I don't know what they're doing. I can make the assumption and just an educated guess around where I think it's going to go. But again, whether or not it does, take it with a pinch of salt. It's just my perspective, right? I think this is also a big question, Tom, around how social media is changing though. And outside of just LinkedIn, as consumers, we are now digesting and interacting with the internet even, right? There's this whole thing right now. I've put a video out I think next week or tomorrow, I can't remember, about how social media, in my opinion, is dead. The concept of social media is not what it once was. Go back to the times of Facebook, for example. The real power of social was that you held the control. You had the follow button. You dictated who you consumed content from, whether that was friends, colleagues, employees, family, whatever. You chose to consume content for people that you got value from, that you felt inspired by, that you wanted to stay up to date with. That model of social has completely died. When TikTok introduced the For You algorithm, which most platforms now, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, they all follow the same sort of suit here. It's based on relevance. So they display content based on the data of what you add into the platform, your dwell time, your click-through rate, your engagement, what you don't like, what you scroll past. That's all built in a big data pool of consumer data information. And they now display content not based on who you follow, but based on what they think that you will engage with, or will keep you on the platform for longer. That's great. Because in the early days, they couldn't. How do you monetize? How do you earn money from connection? You can't really. So the way to do it is to keep you on the platform for longer, to show more adverts. And to show more adverts, you earn more money as a founder of the business or as shareholders or whatever, right? So their job is to change the algorithm to keep you on the platform for longer. So the whole definition of social is really not the thing anymore. You are now being gamified. If what you are using is free, you are the product. You're giving your data away. And this kind of comes back to how, what is video going to be a big thing on LinkedIn? Yes, because that's what people want. And if that's what people want, you need to cater to the demand of that platform to keep people on the platform, to show more ads, to earn more money. So I think we're entering this time not of socialness, but I think of relevancy and of relatability. I think if you can create stuff that people are genuinely at the bottom of their heart interested in, you will do well on this platform, regardless of whether it's video or written or a carousel or a design or a podcast, whatever it is. You have to create stuff that people are interested in. The problem is a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people go, oh, we've just won this new client. I'm going to talk about myself, or I'm going to share what makes me excited. Me. Nobody cares. People are selfish. People aren't interested in that. What people want to be consuming is content that uplifts them, that motivates them. You might have seen this big shift recently in social in terms of you've kind of gone from educational content to lifestyle content, because people become a little bit overwhelmed with learning new stuff. They now want to aspire to do something with their own life. So they're watching other people share what they do in the day. Or you're seeing, especially on LinkedIn right now, as of September 2025, people post their Stripe payment links saying, oh, I've earned 100 grand this quarter. No one cares. No one cares. But deep down, people are interested in it. People are gripped at the edge of their seat because they're going, oh, he's earned 100K. I now feel pressure to do it. Or, well done, that's super. People are engaging with this stuff. So the platforms are going to do more of that sort of content. Well, so what I'm trying to come down to here, Tom, really is it's relevancy and it's interest. If you can create stuff that people are interested in, regardless of whether it's video or not, I still think video is the way to do that, because I think you can tell better stories visually and engage people much more powerfully through that way. You're going to win. But if you're creating videos that are about you or about your business and you're there to sell or you're running ads, people aren't interested in that sort of stuff anymore. Your job now as a founder or a marketer or as a creator is not to create better quality stuff. It's to understand how human psychology works, is to understand the person at the other end of that screen. And if you can do that successfully, you're going to really win.
I think it's a great answer, Jack, because I see so many times like people discussing what's the way to go, if it's carousels, videos, just images. But if you find what works for you, what you enjoy, and what people in the end react with, or what fulfills your goals, whether it's to, I don't know, attract the leads, grow your connections, or something else, and it works for you, you don't have to follow the one that works for other people or that everyone says. Just find what works for you, dominate the game, and continue with, what's the best for you. So I like the answer that you shared.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you're right. I think that there are formulas and frameworks and templates that all these big influencers use, or the biggest creators. Again, I see people become very inspired to the point that they pretty much blatantly steal that for themselves and implement their own content. But above that, you just have to create stuff that your audience are interested in, regardless of if this person has created this template that you can do this and this and structure your copy like this. That's what their audience are interested in. That content for them really works well. But your audience, your demographic, your ICP, your customer, they're going to be very different to that person. So what works for them will probably most likely, in most cases, not work for you. You've got to understand your people. You've got to understand what are they interested in, what riles them up, what agitates them, what makes them angry, what makes them so happy that they want to share that with their friends. You have to do that research, and you can only do that through testing different types of content. So play ball is what I say. Everything is open right now, so just go for it. Do the thing. That's what I say. Just post the bloody video.
I agree, and I think in the end is the best way how to find out if it works, because if you just keep thinking about it and be like, oh, what if, but you actually need to do it to find out if it's going to work or if it's not going to work, and then adjust based on that.
Absolutely. Man, it's like driving a car. You only really know how to drive a car when you get in the front seat and you go, oh Christ, there's a third pedal. I thought that was just to go in and stop. What's this third one? You only do that through learning. You can go through your driving lessons with an instructor. As soon as you get out there on yourself on the road, you really start to learn how to drive. You've taken your L plates off. People treat you like a normal driver. They're going around you, they're beeping your horn, you have a few knocks here and there. That's how you learn stuff. You learn through doing the thing that you want to get better at. Again, that's why I love YouTube, because I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I haven't done YouTube for a long time. The whole platform's changed so much, but I see it's my duty to learn how it works so I can help my clients. If I understand how it works and I can go through those challenges, I can help them solve that or speed that process up much faster. So yeah, do the bloody thing. Do the bloody thing.
I agree. And Jack, as you've been showing up for such a long time, even whether it's on LinkedIn, other platforms, or creating content, what is it that helps you to kind of keep going? Because let's be honest, it's not always easy to feel motivated to show up again. But what is it that drives you or that helps you?
That's a really good question, Tom, because it's a very introspective. You need to look inwards to understand that answer. I'm very in touch with, what does success look like and what do I want out of life. I've had that epiphany moment quite early on in my career, which is great. I'm turning 30 next year, so I'm still in my late 20s, which is a great position to be in to learn this, right? So I'm very aware that a lot of people learn that a little bit later. Genuinely, it's maybe not the answer that you want here, but it's family. If I can continue to push, regardless of how I feel emotionally, but put the benefit of my business above myself, I can support future kids, I can support my wife, I can support my dog, I can pay our mortgage off, I can live a life that is much more relaxed. That's why I do it. You might see, if anybody, like, I do a lot of workshops, but it's a photo of my dog, a photo of my wife. I literally, everything I do is for those two. I want to have kids, I want to settle down properly. That's what motivates me. It's a much more personal goal. Yes, of course, I love to help my members in the community, and I feel this huge sense of proudness and pride and gratification and fulfillment helping other people to create videos that they finally go, oh, I feel so much more confident on camera, or Jack, I've just had 5 calls booked next week because of this video I posted. That brings me a huge sense of pride. But above most, because I'm selfish, I care about these two, man. It's my family first. That's why I do it. That's why I wake up every day. It's why I'm on a podcast with COVID because you've got to get up and you've got to have that personal reason. You've got to have that thing that motivates you. So for me, mate, it's family. It's family of everything, and I also enjoy it. I like learning how things work. I like getting things wrong to understand it's not a failure, it's a lesson, and I can improve just a little bit more, just 1% difference every time. That's really exciting, really exciting. So, but above most, mate, family more than
I like
mate.
it, and it makes complete sense to me. And as I said before, it's especially appreciated considering your health condition or recent health complication that you joined us. So thank you.
Mate, all good, man. All good.
Before we finish, I have a few lighter questions. So what is it that you enjoy doing in your free time, or what are some of your hobbies?
Yeah, I love that. I know I haven't been asked that before on a podcast, so that's great. Big gamer, love gaming. I've had like friends since I was like 13, so kind of the OG boys, we all game, we all play games, so I like all that sort of stuff.
And I'm not a gamer, Jack, but if audience wants to know, what are your favorite games?
So this is proper nerdy. So there's a game called Rocket League, which is quite old. This is really sad. I am one of the top 5% players in the world at the game. So I really, really like it. I think again, it's weird kind of talking out loud. It kind of stems from that very like analytical brain. I like to learn the mechanics intrinsically well, better than anybody, so that I can understand how to be good, right? Same thing with content. I like to understand the data. I like to understand the mechanics of how things work. So yeah, I'm top 5% of the world at Rocket League, which is quite sad, but kind of cool. I think it's a bit of a flex. So I play a lot of that. What else do I play? Like Red Dead Redemption 2, story-driven games, just things that you can go in, huge widescreen monitor, and just switch off for like an hour or two. Just have a couple of snacks, have a beer here and there, and just chill after a really busy week. That's what I absolutely love to do. Outside of that, I'm hot on the gym. I'm in it, 5-6 days a week. After almost a decade of running an agency where I worked 16-hour days, I slept in the office to save on the commute. I pretty much damaged my body from doing it. It's nice to be able to have an hour in the gym and just release the stress, talk to cool people as well. As a good community in the gym. Everyone is there to better themselves, to improve themselves to some degree, and I like that energy. I like that motivation. Golf is a thing. I'll play a lot of badminton. I'm all over. I'm very active right now, which is great. But I think after almost 10 years of not doing it and not looking after my health, I've realized how important it is. If you show up in the best mindset, your business is going to do well. Your business is only ever really as good, especially when you're at a small business. It's only ever as good as how you feel or how you show up that day. So I think it's important to stay disciplined in making sure that you are mentally fit and physically well. So yeah, a lot of emphasis on that.
I was going to say you must have a good time management as well, because I was going to say already before that you do a lot of stuff, and now what you said sounds impressive and great stuff.
It's just balance, man. That's all it is. People say they're busy, but you only ever do the thing that you most want to do at that moment in time, So someone else is busy is just because it's not a priority for them, A call or, do you want to come play football? It's like, no, I'm busy. It's like, well, no, you're not busy. It's just not your priority, and that's absolutely fine. That's your opinion, right? For me, I'm pretty strict with it. I think that, I've had lots of experiences in my life where I'm kind of like, it puts into perspective how short of time we have on this planet, and that we are also inevitably on a fucking floating rock in the middle of space. So whatever we do doesn't really matter, because we're all going to die. Nothing really is important. So just kind of have fun with it. I don't want to be working until 2 a.m. in the morning. I want to be going on a hike and just trying to make memories and get experiences from stuff. This is more philosophical, right? But I think it's so important to just value your time, have that disciplined militant mindset around, I cut off at this time. These are the hours that you contact me. I think that's really important, otherwise it starts to leak into family time, and that starts to impact relationships and health and all the rest of it. You can get quite deep on it, but for me, it's like a non-negotiable. I'm in the gym every day. Fact, I don't care if there was a 6-figure client at my door. I'm saying I'm going to go to the gym. That's how it is.
I actually feel the same. For me, it's also something that I just don't want to or cannot really live without, because it's going to negatively influence the rest. So I understand. Jack, then we discussed it already, but can you summarize where people can find you, follow you, and promote any of your services?
Yeah, man, definitely. So just type in Jack Gaisford on LinkedIn or YouTube. I create a lot of stuff there. YouTube every week, LinkedIn pretty much every day. Check out the website. I think it's www.the-content-club.co.uk. A little bit of a mouthful, but just message me is what I say. If you want any questions, guys, I'm genuinely happy to help. I love helping other people. So drop me a message, drop me a DM. Happy to help where I can. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Yes, and as always, I will add any links to the show notes. I also told Jack before that I like his branding, so make sure to check him out because he's got some beautiful designs, colors, and everything. And the very last question, Jack, is there anything that you would like to share? Any final piece of advice or anything that I should have asked you and did not?
I don't think so. My parting words, probably Tom, our people listening, if you are feeling a bit stuck or you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with the whole content creation thing, just take it day by day. There's absolutely no need to get it right first time. I think, like we've kind of said here, you only improve by doing it. You're not going to improve by joining loads of newsletters and getting loads of free stuff. You're going to learn by doing the thing and getting a little bit uncomfortable. And sometimes that jump is really hard to make, but it'll be the best decision that you've ever made, just to push yourself out your comfort zone, do the thing that you want to get better at, and just accept that it's going to take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. The reason that so many people aren't millionaires in the world is because running a business is really hard. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And you chose to do this. No one else told you to do this. You decided to do it yourself. So don't moan, don't complain, because you can make the decision to stop if you want to. Okay, you're putting yourself through this, so just keep going. That's what I say.
That's true, and it's a good one. Jack, I want to say a big thank you. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure that we could be talking for much longer. I wish we could discuss more of the video and other stuff as well. But again, big thank you. It was great to meet you outside of LinkedIn. You produce some amazing stuff. You are definitely inspiration, and I enjoy this chat. So thank you, especially for your health condition. And yeah, happy to stay in touch and keep doing the great work. Thank you, Jack.
Sounds great, Tom. Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Produced by with Tomen. Check the show notes for all the links, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your feedback. Speak soon.